Get ready to dive into a story of unshakable faith, superhuman courage, and extreme sacrifice. Today, on Journey of the Saints, Sacred Stories, we will tell the story of Saint Perpetua, a young woman of noble origin who dared to challenge the most powerful empire in the world, the Roman Empire. At a time when being a Christian meant putting your life at risk, Perpetua faced the unthinkable. Even as the mother of a newborn baby, she refused to renounce her faith, despite the desperate pleas of her father and the relentless threats from the rulers. Imagine a cold, dark prison where cries of pain echo through the walls. There, Perpetua and her friend Saint Felicitas, pregnant and about to give birth, await their fate. Amid mystical visions and moments of pure agony, they prepare to face the hungry beasts in the amphitheater of Carthage. But something unexpected happens. A mysterious peace envelops them, defying even their oppressors. How could two such fragile women display such strength in the face of death? Come discover the mysteries and miracles that surrounded the last days of these martyrs. It's a story of struggle, hope, and the transformative power of faith. Join us and be inspired by the example of Saint Perpetua, whose courage echoes to this day. Don't miss this moving account of perseverance and love for God, which will forever change the way you see the strength of the human soul. The life of Saint Perpetua began in Carthage, a prosperous city of the Roman Empire, in the year 181 AD. Perpetua came from a noble family and thus grew up surrounded by privileges. Her father was a man of status, and from a young age, she had access to a good education, learning about Roman traditions and the worship of the empire's gods. But despite the comfort in which she lived, Perpetua felt an emptiness in her soul, a longing for something greater, a search for a deeper meaning in life. It was amidst this spiritual yearning that Perpetua found Christianity. At that time, the message of Jesus Christ was forbidden, and his followers were persecuted. Despite the risks, the words of the gospel touched Perpetua's heart, like a balm that soothed her restlessness. She saw in Christianity a truth and a hope that the Roman gods had never offered her. Even knowing that her conversion could bring trouble for her family, Perpetua decided to join the catechumens, a group of people preparing for baptism. Her faith was so intense that, even as the mother of a newborn, she did not hesitate to dedicate her life to Jesus Christ, believing that her child could live better under the light of the faith she had now found. It was during this time of preparation that Perpetua, along with her fellow believers, was captured by the Roman authorities. In March of 203 AD, she was taken to the prison in Carthage, a dark and damp place where Christians were sent to break their will and force them to renounce Jesus Christ. Beside her was Saint Felicitas, her servant and friend, who was pregnant and about to give birth. The prison was a place of darkness and pain, where the cries of the prisoners echoed off the stone walls. The chains that bound Perpetua were heavy, leaving marks on her wrists. The conditions were so inhumane that even the air seemed thick with suffering. But even there, in the depths of that dungeon, Perpetua found solace in her prayers, asking God for the strength to endure the challenges. An unexpected visit. One day, while she was in prison, Perpetua received a visit from her father. He entered the cell, his face marked with tears, and upon seeing her in chains, he collapsed at his daughter's feet. "Perpetua, my daughter, please, think of your son," he begged. "Renounce this faith and come back home. Save yourself before it's too late." His anguish was so great that he tried to remove the chains from her hands, his tears mixing with the dust on the ground. Perpetua looked at her father with love and pain in her heart, but responded firmly, "Father, I cannot renounce the truth I have come to know. Just as this jar here cannot be called anything other than a jar, I cannot be called anything other than a Christian." Her words were spoken with a courage that surprised the guards around her, who did not expect such determination from a young mother. Her father, overcome with anger and despair, left the cell shouting and cursing his daughter. Perpetua felt her heart tighten, but she knew she was making the right decision. She embraced her baby, who had been brought to the prison by her mother so that she could nurse him, and entrusted the child to her family's care. The goodbyes were painful, and tears ran down Perpetua's face as she kissed her son for the last time. With each touch, a prayer escaped her lips, asking God to protect her little one and give strength to all those she was leaving behind. In prison, God granted Perpetua visions that strengthened her spirit. In one of these visions, she saw a golden ladder reaching up to heaven, but each rung of the ladder was surrounded by swords and sharp spears, ready to wound anyone who tried to climb. At the base of the ladder, a dragon tried to block her way, bearing sharp teeth and eyes that gleamed with malice. Perpetua, without hesitation, stepped on the dragon's head and began to climb, rung by rung, while the weapons swayed around her. At the top of the ladder, she saw a great garden where Jesus stood, surrounded by angels. He welcomed her with a smile, and she felt a peace she had never experienced before. When she awoke, Perpetua understood that the vision was a sign that her death would be painful, but that after the trial, she would be received into the arms of Christ. She shared the vision with her cellmates, who also felt encouraged by the young woman's words. Perpetua's visions were a constant reminder that, though darkness surrounded them in the prison, the light of God guided them. Felicity's labor. Felicity's situation was equally dramatic. Since she was pregnant, the law forbade her execution until the baby was born. This left her distressed, as she feared her companions would go to martyrdom without her. With tears in her eyes, Felicity prayed intensely for God to allow her to give birth before the day of judgment. And God heard her prayers. Felicity went into premature labor, and the pain was intense. The guards mocked her suffering, saying, "If you cry out now, what will you do when you're thrown to the beasts?" But Felicity responded with courage, "Now it is I who suffer, but there it will be Christ who suffers in me." After many hours of pain, Felicity gave birth to a baby girl, who was entrusted to the care of a Christian family. With peace in her heart, Felicity was ready to face her fate alongside Perpetua. When the day of the trial arrived, Perpetua, Felicity, and the other Christians were brought before the governor. In front of the court, they were once again pressured to renounce their faith. Perpetua looked the governor in the eye and said with a firm voice, "I am a Christian, and I cannot renounce my God." These words sealed her fate, and the governor ordered that they all be thrown to the beasts in the great amphitheater of Carthage. On the day of their martyrdom, the streets of Carthage were filled with onlookers hurrying toward the amphitheater to watch the spectacle. It was a grim event, where the death of Christians became a public entertainment. The doors of the amphitheater opened, and Perpetua and Felicity entered hand in hand, their faces calm. They knew they were about to make the ultimate sacrifice, but their hearts were filled with a faith that overcame fear. The beasts were released, and the crowd roared, eager for blood. A wild cow violently threw Perpetua to the ground, but to everyone's surprise, she stood up calmly, adjusted her clothes, and looked for her friend Felicity, who had also been attacked. Amidst the chaos, Perpetua displayed an almost superhuman strength, as if an invisible peace was sustaining her. Many in the amphitheater were amazed by her courage, wondering how such a fragile woman could possess such strength. The beasts, however, did not finish them off, and the executioners had to complete the task with their swords. But even in this final moment, Perpetua showed her nobility. The executioner, a young and inexperienced man, trembled before her, hesitating to strike. Perpetua then took the executioner's hand and guided the sword to her neck, a gesture of acceptance and forgiveness. Her last words were a silent prayer, entrusting her soul to God. The story of Saint Perpetua and Saint Felicity is one of the most powerful testimonies from the early centuries of Christianity. They show us that faith can be stronger than any fear, that love for God can sustain the soul even in the most difficult moments. Perpetua and Felicity teach us that when we face our own challenges with trust in God, we find a strength that does not come from us, but from the Lord Himself. How many times do we face difficulties in our lives and feel like giving up? The courage of Saint Perpetua reminds us that true victory lies in remaining faithful, even when everything seems to be falling apart. May we find in her example the strength to face our own challenges, knowing that God is always by our side. Fascinating facts about the story of Saint Perpetua that add even more depth to her martyrdom and legacy. One of the most remarkable facts is that Saint Perpetua kept a diary during her time in prison. This diary is one of the earliest known Christian writings by a woman. In it, she describes her experiences, her visions, and moments of anguish and hope while in prison. This document offers us a rare glimpse into the life of a martyr and her emotions before her death. The visions Perpetua had in prison were so detailed and full of symbolism that they were considered true divine messages. Beyond the golden ladder with the dragon, she had another vision in which she faced an Egyptian gladiator and defeated him. Interpreting this as a sign that she would confront evil and emerge spiritually victorious, even though she was physically heading towards death. Another interesting detail is the deep bond between Saint Perpetua and Saint Felicity. In addition to being united by their faith, they showed great companionship and friendship. Felicity gave birth in prison, and this was seen as divine providence, as otherwise she would not have been martyred alongside her companions, since the law protected pregnant women from execution. Perpetua's story also had a significant impact on the Christian community in the early centuries. After her martyrdom, her courage became an inspiration for other Christians living during times of persecution. It is said that many who witnessed the martyrdom converted to Christianity, impressed by the serenity and faith shown by Perpetua and her companions, even in the face of death. The feast of Saint Perpetua and Saint Felicity is celebrated on March 7th, both by the Catholic Church and other Christian denominations, as a tribute to their courage and the testimony of faith they gave to the world. Prayer to Saint Perpetua and Saint Felicity. Saint Perpetua and Saint Felicity, who faced the darkness of prison and the pains of martyrdom with unshakable faith, we ask you to intercede for us. Grant us the courage to face the trials of life with the confidence that God never abandons us. May we follow your example, always putting our faith first. And like you, may we bear witness to God's love in all moments. Amen. And so we come to the end of the moving story of Saint Perpetua and Saint Felicity, two women who showed us what it means to have unshakable faith, even in the face of the deepest darkness. May their courage inspire all of us to stand firm in our own challenges and always seek the light of God, even when difficulties seem insurmountable. If you were touched by this story of faith and sacrifice, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Journey of the Saints, Sacred Stories. Leave your like, share this video with friends and family, and help spread these stories of inspiration and hope. And now, a question for you to reflect on and comment below. What do you think gives us the strength to face the toughest moments in life, just as Perpetua found in her faith? We want to hear your thoughts. See you in the next sacred story.